Staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. We did tell you before we took that break that today we'll be taking a look at setting new goals for the new year. Of course, it's the 1st of January 2025, and a whole lot of people, will begin their New Year resolutions. But how many people really follow through their New Year resolutions? I know some people, by the end of January, they have even forgotten about those New Year resolutions. So when you need to set goals, what are some of those things that you need to do, and how can you stay true to keeping those goals alive? And I did say it's also good to set realistic goals, not just any type of goals. So we do have a guest in the house today, and together we'll take a look at how we all can be better persons, and the country can also be the better for it in 2025. Join us this morning as a welcome Akin Fatunke, CEO, Kronikla associate, is a communications consultant. Thank you for being here on the program, and Happy New Year to you too.
Well, always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir.
Center of Excellence.
Yes, Center of Excellence.
And the television station of excellence. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to our listeners.
Okay. Before we talk about, setting new goals, let's backtrack a little bit to 2024, and let's get a little bit personal. What were some of the goals that you set for yourself in 2024, and you achieved and you did not achieve?
The first one was that I was creative.
Okay.
I knew, despite the challenge that trust deficits thrown on my plates by politicians, religious leaders, community leaders, I had to keep my head above water. And so my expectation, my grand expectation, was not looking at them as yardstick.
Right.
Was rather what is my own attitude to some of the things they said. So I was positive. Part of it was that I was going to minimize as much as possible my dependence, on the food chain, agri food chain, because inflation hovering at, food inflation hovering at close to 40, slightly over 40%. So I decided that I'm going to do little poultry, little farming, and I kept myself happy about that.
So community farming, backyard farming?
Backyard farming in my little garden.
Okay.
Yes. Again, hopes were dashed.
Right.
I didn't have the perfect knowledge on how to do it, so I quickly asked a few people.
Okay.
The knowledge is out there just by tap of a button, and by spending little, I was able to get my poultry eggs. I was able to get my vegetables. I was able to, by way of a community, got 1, 2, 3, or 4 people of like minds.
Okay.
Can we pull funds together, and then we could
expand,
go to buy a ram, white meat, looking at my health, and everybody was like a win-win situation.
Oh wow!
It didn't get us there, or at least it kept my sanity in bay.
Right.
I was also able to follow the steps of my mentor. I always say people should have mentors. I follow the steps of my mentors. So in any decision I want to make, in any step I want to make, I will put a mirror, and ask, what will my mentor think? I'm going to get angry. All human beings do get angry. And how will he have
handled that situation?
For most times, he says, take a breath, deep breath in and out, before you say whatever that cannot be picked back. So that kept my sanity. I was able to keep my sanity, and my bubbling, my energy level just went up there. That's as far as 2024 is concerned.
Okay.
Okay, there were goals that you set for yourself in 2024 that you were not able to achieve. What were those factors that impeded you from achieving those goals?
So exogenous factors, factors beyond normal human control, naturally.
God factor?
Well, man-made factor. We are responsible for our
Almost
choices.
all.
So one of them, for instance, will be I belong to the Lagos Business School.
Okay.
And I had my set views. Naturally, Ajibola, you will have your set views. Bimbola will have your set views. We disagreed on the political front.
Right.
And one of the things that I said to myself as leader of a class, all being looked up to, is that there was not going to be a difference between me and my Indigo friends, brilliant, resilient set of human beings, and some who came from the north. I started seeing a kind of, people shying
Locking
away
horns.
from coming up. I said, look, go ahead and say what you need to say. Just try your best to, let's build consensus. I didn't succeed. I didn't succeed because the politics of Nigeria got the better of us, and we got ourselves divided along, unfortunately,
differences.
even within the elite class. Religion, tribe, and tongue, we just got somehow divided. And so one of my best friends, a female who is also a classmate, who when the child had a problem, a real problem, ran and said, look, Mr. President, as they will always call me, I need to save my child. And she had what Yorubas call belu-belu, tonsillitis, was going really bad. She came to my house, myself, my wife, the husband, and all that. We became more than bonded. And then when this issue of politics, of prebendalism, sectionalism, here and there,
It broke that relationship.
I'm careful to say broke, but it actually severed it, and it's not coming back in the way and manner I thought it should be. I thought I was a consensus building person. I mean, I'm Yoruba. I schooled in the north. I schooled. My university was at Ahmadu Bello University, and we had a way. Back in those days in the university, Zaki was actually in Danfodio Hall. And he would look at me and say, young man, please come, and all that, before the fallout. And I remember I played a strong stabilizing role. At that time, they used to call them Muslim society. And they were not going to see our ladies in jeans. Right. They were not going to. I said, look, life is not going to be one principle. I succeeded then. But in after 2023 and 2024, maybe it's still work in progress, but I really have not succeeded in that area.
Wow. Jibola, I mean, I'm sure that this, because again, so many people would have also lost relationship or friendship based on what you've talked about here now, and that's a reflection of the past year. But before we look at we leave 2024, as a country, are there lessons that 2024 has taught us? We had a guest here yesterday who said one of the things that he thinks that the current administration may have taught Nigerians will be to save and probably also to make use of what you have at your disposal. But for you in 2024 as a country, what do you think are some of the lessons that we should have learned going forward now into 2025?
A key lesson, in my opinion, is that we begin to see realities in terms of real realities. People have said Nigeria is broken, Nigeria is going downhill, and the bubble is going to be punctured. We are leading a lie. That leading of lie starts with our leaders. I did not see situations where a reformer wanted to come in the person of Mr. President himself and talked about hope, agenda, was going to be a man of his own. Yes, I know he came within a strategy of division. Okay, what I mean by division is opposition were virtually in division, and being the craftsman, dogged politician, the Jagaban of Bobby. I hope he gets to hear what I'm saying. Because back in nowadays, in Mogul, when we were in Exxon Mobil, we played with many of these scenarios. What I did not see, unfortunately, and which threw trust out of the window was some form of personal example. Okay? So a leader must move away from the prism of being a ruler. And a leader must not count chicken before they are hatched. Specifically, I am talking of situations where you are supposed to be your own man, and part of what I thought I was going to see was some form of character that defines certain ethos and ethics. He came, for instance, just to give one example, and showed some surprise that his son was in the chamber, and something flew in my tummy. I said, "This is great. How did it even get in there?" That means your midstream, people who are supposed to be sifted are kotoing. They should not koto. So I think one of those lessons learned is that it dips the perception of how we see Mr. President. You are bold, you are audacious, you've taken steps that others perhaps have not taken.
Right.
Yeah, we could have looked at it a bit much more carefully. First of all, by showing that specific example so that people can. So it's not going to be do what I say, not
business as usual.
and not what I do. I think it's a key lesson. And for whatever reforms, and there are quite a number of reforms on the table.
Right.
Lot of reforms that I see on the table that we can work, but because people will say, well, if you say it's good morning, we are not sure it's good morning, it's good evening, and there are low-hanging fruits, really. Right. Just a bit of a discipline for you to be able to get in there, and then be able to rein others. Awolowo did that. Awolowo walked to Baramatu. He was going to preach education, and the Ekiti people were going to stone him. Right. Even though they eventually became the largest in number when it came to. But what did Awolowo do? He went on barefoot, and you must have seen pictures. So we needed to see leaders who would be able to do that and say, look, it's time for us to persevere. But look at me, I'm also fastening my seatbelt. Right.
Ajibola, let me hold your thought on your next question. Let's quickly take a break to fix a glitch, and we'll be right back.
Negatively. And from what I know, criticism is a major ingredient of democracy. How do you think Mr. President and even his handlers should fare in 2025 in such a way that the perception out there will be better in 2025 than what we had in 2024?
Putpuri, Ajibola, you're so right. You know, Communications 101 indicates there are times you keep quiet. There are times you are proactive, not necessarily reactive. But amongst all, you do things that are morally conscionable at all times. And so because we are human, of course, things will naturally want to fall through the cracks. My advice, therefore, is that the penchant that Abimbola has criticized me, says I look like a woman. Says I look like a woman. I can smile it. Abimbola, no, I don't think so. What is it that Abimbola is saying? Perhaps he's just saying me putting an earring there. I'm just putting that as an example.
Right.
So in my culture, you know, I mean, that is not acceptable. You must learn to build those consensus. Secondly, I know before Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, virtually all spokespersons have been critically abusive. You don't need to be abusive. You could say the same words and convey the same message without necessarily attacking the person. I saw something that came out from my Egbon, my brother, my very good friend, Reverend Father Matthew Cooker. At one point in time, the initial thing was to now want to pounce on him when there was some misquoting. Social media has done some rigmarole only for, and you know when words go out that way, it's not going to come back. So my point, therefore, is in public relations, adherence, and in public speaking, people, I'm afraid, I'm not in any way trying to indict, but I'm only stating the truth.
The fact,
people need to learn, relearn, unlearn, alpha sofa. People need to be put within the milieu of the ecosystem that you could have said it during Jonathan's time, during Obasanjo's time. It's not the time that you are going to. So you have to reprofile. And reprofiling, therefore, means you must have your talking points.
Right.
You must go beyond your talking points. That is the way it is. And Mr. President is aware that that is the template. The template is there. It's not going to be, you're not going to start it all over. There are people who should speak for the president, and I see he has a retinue of them. They must have specific job assignments, and whatever is going to be said, and this is how it's done in you know. Even Mr. President himself cannot just come out there and say something. Must have been sifted. Even Mr. Governor of Lagos State, the actual governor that we have in Lagos State, must not necessarily be the first responder. Like we had something that happened sometime in Magodo, and a police officer was not telling, I have order from above. These things will have been sifted. It's all part of communication. And people must know their boundaries, their limits.
Okay.
The chief legal officer of the federation, the chief legal officer of the state, the chief legal officer of a local government, it must have said, yes, I think this is okay to say. This is okay to say. Therefore means it is rigor.
Right.
A good morning, Abimbola, a good morning has to go through some sifting in such a way and manner that you might be saying good morning here now in Australia. It's not good morning.
It's not morning,
So, my advice, at all times, do what is right, follow the rule books, and I'm happy Mr. President is coming out and saying that we are going to have a form of a code of conduct, you know. I hope we carry it through, and people should therefore not say something and then begin to reverse and all that. It means it's not been thoroughly thought through, and we should not be competing. So I should not be the one that is going to be attacking an OBJ as an example, or the one that is going to be attacking a Peter Obi and all that. I am not saying you should not respond,
but
especially if you have your facts and figures. But have your facts and figures that cannot be controverted. And when you pull that out, you see that malcontents will have a way of keeping quiet.
Right. Okay, now let's quickly go into the new year. So many people set goals last year they were unable to achieve for various reasons. And so if, you know, those that, you know, would like to set goals this year, today is January 1st. For you, what are some of the tips or what are some of the things that, you know, people need to follow through when they're actually setting goals?
Well, you know, the management school will tell you basically look for the specific, the measurable, you know, the achievable,
Yes.
the relevant, and the one that
smart
you are
goals.
going to you are going to put time
Yes.
boundaries on. Unto thyself be true, but know that you are competing. So if you love Abimbola's job and you think she's doing very well and you want to copy her, look at some of the things that she's done. I guess on January 1, amongst others, you have to leave your family, to wake up early, you have to get your scripts. It's a lot of hard work. Let's work towards being goal specific, not so many goals.
Right.
And one of the first goals to any human being, whether you're a politician or a non-politician, you are a plebiscite, you are a tribune of the people, look after your health. Look after your health. I say this with all sense of responsibility, Abimbola and Jibola. I say this because I've just lost a friend, a colleague, a first-class graduate from the University of Obafemi Awolowo University, doing so well. He was on his way home, around county hospital there, around 3 o'clock. He had a cardiac arrest. His car had to climb on a peg.
And he died.
Because he was brought in dead.
Wow.
His obituary is out. Look at our forum now, Coopers and Librand Forum, you know, the precursor to PricewaterhouseCoopers. We are all mourning. We are all mourning. So I think in being specific, let's look at our health and our health first. Calm down, like that little boy said. Please calm down. Don't look at the noise in the market. Sift those noise in the market. See things that are going to be specifically tailored towards what are you going to be doing? Because each time you point a finger,
The other four
so
is back at you.
my advice, therefore, will be, say in 2025, yes, hope, even if those hope now becomes dashed. I'm not necessarily talking about the federal, I'm talking about the state. I'm talking about the state of our economy. I'm talking about the state of our security. Ask those questions. Abimola, I will not expect that when you do a risk assessment, to you and Ajibola, for you to be able to come and continue to produce this, the two of you will not go on the same plane. Supposing that plane comes down, I am just trying to make a point.
Right.
Like, you do your little assessments, go for your checkups, do your exercises, watch your diet. So very important. You should be resilient. Resilience is the name of the game. Politicians can go ahead and do all the things that they need to do, but you know, don't place so much of your expectations on what they say than what they do. An example would be, they have said that for young people, there's going to be a student loan. I began to read situations where my constituency, where I schooled in the north, they all rushed it. In the south, we'll say, we'll try to pull it down. It's not going to work. No. Let's be positive. Ask yourself that question. So suppose you do the what-if question. So please try and look at that. Please bend yourself low to learn little tips on entrepreneurship. I told you about what I did.
Yeah, you're farming. Yeah.
And you have children around you. Even if you don't have children, these children are smart kids, smart Alex. Bring them in. You see them being energized. Take whatever business that you are doing and turn it and apply technology. Learn a bit about coding. Learn a bit about AI technology. Learn a bit about robotics. What is all these things we are saying? I remember some years back when the president of the African Development Bank, when he was the Minister of Agriculture.
Agriculture.
I remember the first step, but no, our farmers will not be able to do it. And he kept a straight eye. I said, I have a dream that by the time 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 begin to key into it, it's going to be a game changer. They did not become a game changer. So we should manage our change process and manage it very well. Now, we have a national orientation. You see something, you say something. You should not say because it's not affecting you or it's not whatever it is, and then you keep your eyes aside. In our communities, which is exactly what I guess Mr. President has at the back of his mind to now talk about local government reforms. Even if you have local government reforms that is working perfectly, it's still going to depend on you and I
For it to succeed.
beyond pointing fingers at others. What is it that you are also trying to do yourself? I also say, please, beyond your area of expertise and competence, the things you like to do, please make sure you read a book, set time and targets for yourself. For me, it's an autobiography that I wish to
write.
To read.
Or to read about something.
With a view to starting my own little memoirs. So those are some of the things I have. I'm not going to be telling you I'm going to stop smoking. I'm not smoking anyway. I'm going to stop partying. And, I mean, and all that. All those are a bit of wish-wash.
Right.
They don't. But put a time limit on them, and please don't be afraid.
Yeah, to
that
launch out.
You fail on those goals. Failure is not a death sentence.
Right.
Failure just tries to set you on good path.
Right.
And when the Ajibolas of this world now look at you and say, why are you putting a millstone? Because you want to climb a tree like the tortoise did. Instead of putting it at your back, decide to put it at your back. Oh, wait a minute, that makes sense. And all that. So let's be receptive to new ideas, to creative thinking, to making sure that, when others are happy, you have lit a torch into somebody else's path, and there's no way yours will not be brightened.
Wow.
Okay, while we have agreed that we can all set realistic individual goals, of course, when you look at the message of Mr. President this morning, it contained hope, and of course, the National Youth Conference will be coming up. He also spoke about the economy and how the federal government plans to bring down inflation rate from 34.6 to 15%. How realistic are some of these goals? And there is no way we are going to separate the intentions of government away from what we set out to achieve individually.
Yes, I have listened to the president's speech as an economist, as an accountant. Yes, some of those things I am questioning them myself. And I'm expecting that Mr. Wale Edun, the CBN governor, and virtually everybody will now see how we are going to, for instance, if you say food inflation that we are saying is moving beyond 40%, it's now going to
15%.
It's not going to come to 15%. Mr. President, while I agree it is achievable, but it's not something that you are going to do by yourself.
Okay.
Are you carrying, I believe he is carrying some national levels in. I believe he's made some projections for the livestock ministry. I believe he's also saying to himself that with his local government administration, with more money going to the local government, we can have farm parks and what have you. Mr. President, we cannot decree this kidnapping, this terrorists, 2G that is still talking about a lot of things in Zamfara, and our soldiers are still facing the bullets because the locals are being the ones that are blowing the whistle and giving them out. When you put this out together, I want to see a quantum improvement in the ministries, the agencies of government that are supposed to be doing things that they need to do. One of the few things, as far as security is concerned, that the whole world is still talking about is that a list has been given to us of terrorist financiers. I'm happy at what Olukoyede is doing with EFCC.
Right.
Okay, but it should be coordinated in a way and manner that the big guns and the big fish, even if they have been responsible, okay, like the cartels we have elsewhere, to put us in power. If Mr. President could say that I have decided to close my eyes, and like Paul on his way to Damascus, have decided to see light for the sake of legacy, so be it. So we need to begin to put all that, the farm settlements, the Ministry of Agri, can we see more of action? The Minister for Defense,
Right.
okay, the DSS, are we still going to be competing? The DSS is doing this, is doing that. And whatever it is, the money that is coming in, how are we accounting for that? How are we tracing the money? What Boba Marwa is doing with the NDLA, is it being given the kind of support by all of us, not Mr. President alone?
Okay.
We say something, and we say something. So that's an example. I also feel that Mr. President, in his wisdom, for the very first time, has taken a decision, and I think it's a bold decision. It may be novel. There may be advantages and disadvantages on state police. Okay. The Central Force, FORCE, by force, by fire, that came from the colonialists. It's high time we begin to now look at it and try and see how to make it work. I don't know in the parliamentary system, the way chair as an example. State governors have been known to become so powerful and they subvert the thing. Whoever is not getting an alignment to ensuring that it gets as much to the grassroots as possible, must have a way to ostracize them.
Right.
I also think another assumption is that Mr. President has clearly said that he's not going to probe. Okay, I heard. Well, we know you probed the CBN. We know NMPC is now beginning to wake up. Will not close your eyes. I also think, in my honest opinion, Mr. President is a consensus builder. We must find a way to get political solutions to, whether it's the Bauchi State governor, well, some other governors in the north. I schooled in the north, and the fear of the tax reform bills, I know he can with consensus. He's also talking about consensus with Chiani, the Niger.
Yes, the rebel leader.
What I am saying, the influence of Mr. President with humility and with an open hand is going to work a lot of wonders.
Okay.
And what we feel might be tough and difficult might just be press the button and it's going to concede. Finally, the Southeast continues to be a sore point. You know what I'm talking about, the IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, and all that seesaw. Mr. President perhaps wants to look at the model that the late Alhaji Shehu Shagari did in giving amnesty to Ojukwu back in the day. And I remember on NTA, natural people asked Ojukwu, are you okay? Are you going to forget the past? And then he asked the interviewer, well, my eyes are here in the front. I'm sorry, I cannot look back. We must find a way that we must forgive, we must forget. So some of these other agitators, we must find a way to talk to them. Wow. They are human beings. I know it's not easy. Yeah. It's not the easiest. But with the kind of influence that I think Mr. President has, and with kind of clouds, and with kind of goal orientation that he has in mind, we have to build a lot of consensus. And finally, Mr. President, the only area that for our goals, for your goals, for your $1 trillion economy to work, is that we must not close our eyes entirely to this quest for restructuring. You started it, financial restructuring. We are different people, and we must recognize the fact that a woman is a woman, a man is a man, okay, transgender notwithstanding, that we must find a way to restructure the leadership question in Nigeria. 2027 will come, it will not take it off. 2023 came, it showed it very glaringly. We are still highly, very different. We must get together on the table and decide how we are going to continue to govern ourselves for the sake of our children's children.
Right. Before we allow you go this morning, because honestly, you've put everything together. But you know, I'm just going to backtrack a bit. Just have you rest on those notes. You did say that in setting goals, we must not be afraid of failure. Failure should actually be one thing that should propel you towards the next step. So, in your own opinion, how do you take track? How do you take a pause to track your progress and maybe readjust your goals as the year runs by?
Like I said, it's smart. You must be smart to ensure that whatever vision, whatever goal, you write it down. So you must have a note, a sheet of paper. By so and so time, this is what I'm going to do. So and so time, I'm going to do. Now, you'll not be able to achieve that for one reason or the other. It could also be health related. It could be somebody has stabbed you in the back, okay? It's going to be a meltdown that we have in the economy. It's going beyond, I'm not sure Ajebola, in all his thinking, 3 years ago, we would not have believed that food inflation in Nigeria is going to be 40%.
Right.
Suddenly, Abi, so what are we now going to do? We must get what we describe as scorecard. It's not only companies, okay, that should have scorecard. The scorecard will show you green, yellow, and red. When you see that you have sufficiently fallen and it's gone right beyond your capacity because the emotional intelligence surrounding you just tells you that the assumptions are not
adding up.
It could be a COVID thing, God forbid. I mean, and whatever it is. It could be NSAS thing that will go to Yaba left and go and sack the whole place. But point is, don't be afraid to say yes. One of the things I learned in my corporate life is that I am supposed to be growing my profit on a regular basis. There were times I didn't grow my profit, it didn't went deep. Not because there was any stealing, but because rather than ramping things in my balance sheet to show that my my revenue is moving on a monthly basis, I have decided to do investment, infrastructure.
Okay.
But you are not going to understand that until I explain it to you. Oh, I have decided that I've dipped my hand
in the cookie jar
into my revenue profile because I've decided that I want to deploy technology. And I've done my feasibilities in such a way that it's going to repay itself within 1 or 2 years. We did that in ExxonMobil, in the downstream. Right. And Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Nigeria is one of the things I pride myself, okay? Because it was part of a team that put on that structure that we call Mobile House together.
Right.
And with Mobile House, it became the crown jewel, not just in Nigeria, in Africa. That building has not come down. So many other buildings have come down. What exactly is the thing that we are doing? We are making sure, and it's not to say that, I mean, it has always, everything has been fantastic.
Right.
I remember the very first time we took human beings into that building. That was when we knew we had problems. The pepper is sweet. The pepper is not sweet. You should do this, do that. Everybody wants to create.
Human beings are
just like we have
like
in our
that.
politics.
Right.
But you must have a humane and realistic way of talking them through those processes. You
and carrying everybody along.
Setting example.
Yeah.
You will not be doing something wrong and be expecting that the unions, which is another subject.
Right.
Unions will, so the unions respected us and we led the country very adequately. We went to EFCC during the time of Lamode, after Ribadu. It was us that now said, this subsidy or no subsidy scam. We laid it out that, yes, it could be subsidy It could also be we paying back to government. My company, Mobi Oil, was the first company that paid back.
We need to go now.
All I am trying to say is that, look, you could look for very good examples of why you may think you are failing, but in reality, with good communication, you'll be able to carry people along.
With good communication, yes.
We need to go this morning. Thank you so much, Akin Fatunke, for finding time to be here on the program. It's always a pleasure having you come here to enlighten us anytime you're here. Thank you so much again for being here on the program today.
Always a pleasure. Nigeria shall be great.
All right. Okay. So that's the much we'll take on this side of the table this morning. I do hope that you've, learned a few things and scribbled a few things so that when those goals, you need to start, taking a scorecard of where you are. You can go back to those SMART goals and look at where you are and where you're headed for. We'll take a quick break. When the conversation returns, it will be on the other side of the table.